Hi, my name's John Neville. I'm an alderman for the City of Nelson, and our City Council appointed me a director to the Regional District of Central Kootenays. We're here tonight to talk about awareness and how we can all learn more and show more interest in our local governments. But before we go further into that, I'd like to introduce our special guests. On my left, we have Jane Fleet from Stanley Humphries School, Castlegar, and moving along to her left, we have Monica Tymofievich, also from Castlegar, Stanley Humphries, and then John Brunstein from Kaslo, Pam Cann from Kaslo School, and then Shelly Holmes from LV Rogers School, and Andreas Raschdorf from LV Rogers Nelson. I'd like to welcome you all and say that we really hope you find the information we're going to pass on interesting, and we also hope that you'll be able to share it with your fellow students. Now, if we could get right into this local government year that we're looking at, I was asked by the chairman of the Regional District and the Mayor of Nelson if I would this year be willing to promote awareness on both organisations' behalf. The Union of BC Municipalities, UBCM for short, recently did a study in which they identified that whilst most taxpayers are, on the one hand, reasonably content with the services they receive and satisfied with the return on their tax dollar, there is an obvious need for more participation and awareness in local government. For example, in 1981, 82, and 83, more than 1/3 of all the elected officials, mayors and aldermen, were either elected by acclamation, which means that there was only one person running, or they were appointed. And that is kind of sad, because an appointment means that no one ran, and after the election, council or the provincial government had to step in and make that appointment. Our local government really is a very important part of all our lives. When we turn the tap on, we don't really question that we're going to get an adequate volume of good, clean water. We call the fire or the police departments, we expect a response, and we nearly always get a good response. And likewise, if we put our garbage out, the garbage disappears once a week and we don't think much about it. We also know that local government is action orientated, and if there's a local concern, it's very easy to get to your council and get a response. And if we have concerns with the provincial and federal governments also, your local government is usually the place to go, and they will be prepared to speak on your behalf. What we're really looking for is a greater commitment in our communities, both to our local government and a better understanding of them. And we believe that if we can pass on more information so that there's a better understanding, first of all, from you people in the schools and generally throughout the committee, we can up the present tendency of voter turnout, which is under 40%, except in the very small communities, which sometimes top 70%, but the average is under 40%. And our aim is to bring that up over 50%. We would like to see more people out for elections, attending council and regional district and school board meetings, volunteering for committees, and most of all, turning out for election. Now, where did government start in Canada? If we can look back to the 1860s and Confederation, Canada became a nation in 1867, and at that time the British North America Act introduced the Canadian Constitution. At that time, sections 91 and 92 spelt out the responsibilities of the federal and the provincial governments, and it was given to the provincial governments to be responsible for creating and allowing the creation of local governments. And just an aside here, that was topical right now is the federal-provincial meeting between the two levels of government to discuss the possibility of the Indians having self-government. And this is a problem between the two levels because the federal government has responsibility for the Indian affairs, whilst the provincial governments have responsibility for local government, and that's why there's a need for a big conference and agreement before they can achieve that result, if that in fact is what they wish to do. Now, the provincial government has a Ministry of Municipal Affairs, a Ministry of Health, and a Ministry of Education, which cover most of the areas of local government. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs has passed a Municipal Act, which is basically responsible for municipalities and regional districts. The Ministry of Education has passed a School Board Act, and the Ministry of Health has passed a Hospital Act and a Regional District Hospital Act, which allows regional districts to tax for certain parts of hospital funding. In addition to those basic acts, it's almost mind-boggling to think there are approximately 550 other provincial acts that affect local government, from agricultural land reserve to labour to election acts to cemetery acts and so on. It's quite complex, and we really benefit from having good qualified administrators to cope with that range of statutes, not to mention those coming from the federal government. If we could now perhaps turn and have a look at the map, I'd like at this point perhaps to welcome Randy Matheson from the Regional District, who's assisted with these maps and is going to indicate to them as we go along. First of all, BC is a very large expanse of land, as we can see, 820,000 square kilometres. It's a huge area with a population of 2,750,000 people. Across this large landmass, we have 141 municipalities with large areas in between. But we've seen a trend over the last 30 or 40 years towards rural population. And this has been mainly due to the availability of the automobile and the developing highway system. And nowhere is this more obvious than on Nelson's North Shore, for example, where the coming of a bridge in 1965 allowed many more people to live outside the municipality and can drive to work or to school or for other services within the community. Now, the provincial government recognized that municipalities were carrying the tax burden for providing services for the total population, municipal and rural areas, and this was first recognized in 1946 when school boards were expanded outside municipalities to include the rural areas and became school district boards. And then in 1965, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, then Dan Campbell, created regional districts. And before we go into the specifics of our own regional district, Central Kootenays, I'd just like to draw attention to two others across the province. There are actually 29, but if we could go down to the southeast of the province, southwest, sorry, Randy, to the Lower Mainland, we've got the Greater Vancouver Regional District. This has an area of 2,600 square kilometres, which is only 0.3 of the total area of the province. But the population is 1,200,000, which is 43.6% of the total population. If we then move to the north of the province and take in the largest regional district, the Peace River Liard, this has a landmass of 209,000 square kilometres, or 25.5% of the whole province. It only has a few scattered municipalities within it, And the regional district board members, some of them take 2 days just to travel to a board meeting. The population in that regional district is only 59,000, or 2.1% of the total provincial population. If we now compare that to our own regional district down in the southeast corner of the province, we have a land mass of 23,000 square kilometres, which is 2.8% of the total land mass, and a population of 52,000, or 1.9% of the total population. I should add, I'm using the 1981 statistics because the 1986 statistics are not fully available yet, so for anyone who's collecting statistics.
Mr. Neville, my name is Pamela. I'd like to know, how does the provincial government decide on who to appoint for positions that nobody wants to run for, or if you're appointed, if you can decline?
Well, first of all, usually there may, in the case of a council, let's say, where one or two vacancies exist and aren't filled. Let's say there are 3 aldermen in 1 year running, and perhaps one, or let's say only one person stands, so he'll be elected by acclamation. I think the council can go to the community and find 2 willing persons to fill that vacancy. However, if all 3 places become vacant, or even higher numbers, and the council doesn't feel it can cope, that is the number that are left, then it's left to the province to step in and recreate a council in a community. Myrna Strom is a school trustee for the school district number 86, which covers the Creston and the Kaslo areas on both sides of the main lake. Myrna, over to you.
Thank you, Alderman Neville. British Columbia is divided into 75 school districts, all of them having a local board. In BC's 75 school districts, there are more than 500 trustees guiding a system which employs more than 30,000 people and serves more than 530,000 children from kindergarten to grade 12. There can be 3, 5, 7, or 9 trustees on a board. This is decided by the Minister of Education. The trustees do not act as individuals, they act only in tune with the board as a whole. Their main tasks are to make policies and to plan for the future, to establish budget priorities, and to communicate with the community on educational matters. In effect, the board decides what will be done, and the staff determines how it will be done. We have 9 trustees on the board of school district number 86, Creston and Kaslo. We meet on the 4th Tuesday of each month for the regular meeting, but there are many other meetings also, leading up to the regular board meeting. We 9 trustees are appointed to various committees on the board according to our own particular interest, except for the Education Committee. We're all on that one. And the various committees are Finance Committee, Operations, Policy, Education, Board Teacher Relations, North and South Discipline Committees, Negotiations Committee, and the Access Committee. There are also trustee representatives appointed to their own local recreation commissions. These commissions look after the money that is generated from taxes through the regional districts. This provides the commissions with an elected representative and provides communication between the school board and the Recreation Commission. The board also appoints a trustee representative, 1 each, to the East and the West Kootenay Boards of Health as well. Last but certainly not the least, we have representatives appointed to the village of Kaslo and 1 to the town of Creston. In Creston, this idea has taken a very positive direction. The downturn in the provincial economy, with its recognized impact on the funding capabilities of both parties, motivated our school district to approach the town with the concept of joining forces when they called for bids on their annual fuel needs. The town was receptive, thus leading to considerable savings to both parties due to their higher combined volume of gas, etc. The process has stood the test of time for 4 years, and the changes in the composition of both the council and the school board. It has also served as a springboard for the board and council to jointly develop solutions to mutually annoying traffic and parking problems. As of last month, we held a joint dinner meeting and a discussion session. As a consequence of it, we have agreed to meet at regular intervals, and the board and the council administrators have been requested to identify areas for consideration as joint endeavors. One last interesting note. School District 86 lost its Creston Secondary School, that's Prince Charles, by fire. It was replaced by a new school, but by ministry and district agreement, a hold was placed on the inclusion of a proposed auditorium in the new school, with the understanding that funding, time, etc. would be subject to negotiations. The square meterage allowed by the ministry and partially funded by it was judged less than adequate by the school board and the community fine arts groups, as it would only have accommodated about 200 people. These bodies agreed that twice the seating was really required. Plans for the expanded facilities were developed and costed. The ministry approved but would not increase its fundings, and the school district would not. The local groups formed an auditorium society to raise money. They succeeded in realizing a very considerable sum. The government's heritage funding saw fit to give us $100,000. We were well on the way to building a 400-seat auditorium. On March 27th, it will be opened. Now, the town council again became involved with the school district. The $100,000 BC government grant was made to the Auditorium Society on behalf of the project. This will be distributed in 3 installments, the first of which has arrived. The second one is expected daily, and the third on completion of the project. All funds are in charge of the school district. The town is involved as a taxing authority required to represent the community, and the town and the board have jointly developed a policy and regulatory statements regarding the use of and the maintenance of the auditorium, with the school district recognized as the administrative body. My school board chairman, Adam Robertson, says, "Good things can happen if people of goodwill get together, and that each of us is an angel with one wing, and to soar we must embrace each other."
My name is Andreas Raschdorf, and I was wanting to ask Mrs. Strom a question. Is there any way the school board can get around the restraint policies of the provincial government?
No. There isn't. Not right now. The school funding is done, I'm a loss for the words, but it's a certain amount that you're given each school district per student. Each student generates so much money. And that is the funding formula that we are governed by.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to pass on to Ned MacNiell. He's an alderman from the village of Salmo. He joined the regional district of Central Kootenays in 1978, the same year as myself, and served as its chairman for a total of 6 years. Ned, over to you.
Thank you, John. In the mid-1960s, the government of the province of British Columbia recognized that there was a need for some sort of government throughout the rural parts of the province. At that time, 99% of the province was unorganized, had no direct involvement with decision-making affecting their particular area. There were real problems in providing rural service in a structured and cost-effective way. There was at that time no opportunity for joint services between adjacent municipalities or between municipalities and their fringe areas. There were problems with the delivery of services to rural BC from a centralized government situated in Victoria, in most cases hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles from the service area. Now, in an attempt to resolve these problems and to give more direct representation and local control over local problems, the concept of regional district structuring was proclaimed. Under the provisions of the Municipal Act, which is the authority under which all local incorporated bodies operate, the regional districts are empowered to undertake planning and settlement planning, building regulations, certain works and services in rural areas, contract services to municipalities and to improvement districts, grants and aid to worthy projects and causes. A great variety of other services and functions can be and are being provided by regional districts at the request of the district taxpayers through their directors and, of course, with the permission of the provincial government. It should be noted here that unlike municipalities, regional districts are only empowered to provide functions and services requested by the taxpayer. Now, if we could look at the map, our regional district, Central Kootenays, covers an area of some 23,000 square kilometers and has a population of approximately 52,000 people. We were incorporated in November 1965 and were one of the first 12 districts formed. There are now 29 regional districts, one of which is inactive at this time. Our district extends from the headwaters of the Duncan River, the north, to the international border at a point just south of Fruitvale. We extend from an area east of Creston to the mountain tops west of the Arrow Lakes above Needles. Our board has representatives from 9 municipalities: the villages of Salmo, Nakusp, New Denver, Slocan, Silverton, and Kaslo, the town of Creston, and the cities of Castlegar and Nelson. We have 11 rural or electoral areas. Area A on the east of the Kootenay Lake, areas B and C, which surround the town of Creston, Area D, which reaches from the headwaters of the Duncan River to Coffee Creek south of Kaslo, areas E and F, which cover all of the area around Nelson and the west arm of Kootenay Lake, Area G, surrounding the village of Salmo, Area H, which extends from west of Nakusp south to the Playmore Junction, areas I and J, surrounding the city of Castlegar, and Area K, which covers the north and south areas just west of Nakusp. Our board consists of 20 directors, 9 appointed by the councils of their municipalities, and 11 who are elected by the people in their electoral areas. Each director represents the people in the area they are from. In the case of municipal directors, they speak for the people in the municipality and not necessarily for the municipal council. They will, of course, consult with other members of council, but they are not bound to vote as directed by council when they're at the regional district board. The rural director is responsible to the voters in his electoral area and reflects the wishes of those voters and his advisors in that area. Each director has 1 or more votes on the board, in most matters coming before the board, depending upon the population he represents. For example, Director Neville from Nelson has 4 votes from a population of 9,000 people. The director from Silverton has 1 vote, representing a population of about 280 people. For each unit of 2,500 people, a director has 1 vote. For any amount of people above that figure, he receives 1 more vote. He could thus have 2 votes if the population in his area was 2,501. Each director has a responsibility to bring before the board for its consideration and action those matters that he is requested to address by his municipality or his electoral area. In a village or city, the residents of those municipalities can appear before their councils, that is, their mayor and aldermen, and state their respective concerns and problems. For the rural and/or electoral areas, the regional board serves as that forum where concerns can be brought forward. The board acts as their mayor and alderman. Time does not permit the listing of all the many and varied services and functions that the district provides to our people. They range from regional parks and all sorts of recreational facilities and programs related to health, sanitation, water, libraries, and fire protection. Now, if we could refer to the map again, in our regional district we have 4 school board districts, numbers 7, 9, 10, and 86. We have 7 hospitals located in Central Kootenays, 2 in Nelson, 1 each in Castlegar, Creston, Kaslo, New Denver, and the Cusp. Our people are served by 4 MLAs, Darcy of Trail Roslin, Dirks of Nelson Creston, Hanson of North Okanagan, and Ann Edwards of Kootenay. There are 2 other statutory powers granted to regional districts that also tend to bring all parts of the province under the regional district umbrella. These are provisions for hospital financing and the Municipal Finance Authority. The Regional District Board also sits as the Regional Hospital District Board. All requests from hospitals throughout the district are referred to the Regional Hospital Advisory Committee, who review and make recommendations to the Regional Hospital District Board for their approval or rejection. The Municipal Finance Authority Act was adopted in 1971. The object of the MFA is to provide the money required to finance certain projects like water and sewer systems, recreation facilities for member municipalities and electoral areas. The MFA issues, that is, sells bonds or debentures on the financial markets of the world. This money is then loaned back to member regional districts who have requested financing from the MFA. Because every piece of land and every building and improvement throughout BC is in effect used as collateral for the debentures, and because of a sinking fund arrangement which makes defaulting on an obligation impossible, the bonds of the MFA enjoy the highest credit rating possible. Now, this structure has saved members of the regional districts many hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments over the last 20 years or so. There are at times concerns expressed that regional districts will take the place of improvement districts, or that they will usurp the powers and authorities of municipalities. This is simply not true. Regional districts provide a cooperative, federated approach to providing services that transcend municipal boundaries. It provides a structure wherein services or facilities that could not possibly be afforded by one area or municipality can be jointly financed, operated, and administered in an effective and cost-saving manner. It is a positive structure that can and does provide those things that our people ask for and want to have to improve their way of life.
Mr. Neville, my name is Monica Tymofievich. My question is, there is some belief that regional districts will replace municipalities. How is this belief either right or wrong?
Would you like to answer Monica's question, Reid? Ned, I mean, sorry.
Yes, John, I'll make an attempt at it anyway. The regional district is not a 4th level of government. It is a federated approach in which we join rural areas with municipalities. If a municipality wishes to enter into a function which is controlled by the regional district, that takes a resolution of council even to do that. So I don't see how there could be, any possibility of the regional district ever, overcoming councils. Or I don't think that any regional district really wants to do that anymore.
Thank you.
My name is Jane Fleet, and I'd like to ask Mr. MacNiell a question. How does the regional district go about making a decision as to whether a public facility should be installed, such as the Nelson Aquatic Centre or the waterside that's being proposed in Castlegar?
Well, that in most cases involves rezoning bylaw, so you get down to a bylaw which has to be passed in order for this to take place, and then all bylaws are voted on by all directors of the board, so everybody has a vote.
Thank you very much, Ned. I'd now like to welcome Reid Henderson. Reid is the Administrator Treasurer of the Regional District of Central Kootenay. Welcome, Reid. It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Mr. MacNiell referred to other services being provided by the Regional District. Later in my presentation on budgeting, I will deal with other services more extensively. For convenience at that time, I intend to use visual charts as well as tables. But first, I would like to add some additional general information about the Regional District of Central Kootenay. As pointed out earlier, there are 52,000 people. 25,000 of those people live within the incorporated municipalities. 13,000 live within a radius of 5 miles of the incorporated municipalities. For example, within that 5 miles is Blewett, Robson outside of Castlegar, and Glenbank outside of Nacusk. 14,000 people live in what's referred to as truly rural settings. An example of those unincorporated areas are Riendell on the east side of Kootenay Lake, Belfer, north of Nelson, and Weimer, which is north of Salmo. Each of those are more than 5 miles from their main centers. The real property assessment values, the property that's taxed in Central Kootenay, totals $1.6 billion. Of that, approximately half is within the rural area, and the remaining half is within the municipalities. Central Kootenay Regional District has assets that total $11 million on the financial statements, with a total replacement value of $20 million. $7.5 million are made up of buildings and equipment. $3.5 million are represented by the 6 water systems owned by the district. As referred to in Mr. MacNiell's presentation, the regional district is responsible for borrowing monies on behalf of the municipalities. The debt of Central Kootenay totals $24 million, of which $18 million has been borrowed on behalf of those incorporated municipalities. And the borrowings have been used for capital funding of electrical utility improvements, installation of water systems, purchase of fire protection equipment. In the case of the regional district's borrowings, they have gone to finance the aquatic center here in Nelson and the ice arena in Castlegar, as well as fire halls and fire equipment purchases in the rural area. The total payroll of Central Kootenay is $1.4 million. Our permanent staff totals 45, of which 20 are within the administration, building inspection service, and planning department. 25 permanent employees are hired within the recreation complexes, such as the Castlegar Ice Arena and the Nelson District Aquatic Center. Seasonal employees for Canada Works programs and temporary recreational instructors total 400 throughout the year, with the staff levels peaking to 200 during the months of July and August. The regional district is really 2 bodies. They are the Regional District of Central Kootenay, and they are also the Central Kootenay Regional Hospital District. Referring to the pie chart, The Central Kootenay Regional Hospital District budget totals $1.9 million. The sources of revenue are fairly well evenly split, with $1 million being generated from taxation and the additional revenues coming from provincial grants. On the expenditure side, 95% of the budget, which is $1.8 million, goes to pay principal and interest debt charges. Because of the large area covered by the district and the variety of services offered, the board determined that the best means of providing services would be to establish sub-regions. Sub-regions were established based on the economic factors of the area as well as the physical barriers. Creston, electoral areas A, B, and C on the east side of Kootenay Lake represent one sub-region. Kaslo and D on the north end of Kootenay Lake represents another sub-region, as does Nelson, Salmo, areas E, F, and G here in the central part. Communities of Slocan, New Denver, Silverton, and H for the Slocan Valley. Castlegar, I, and J are another sub-region, as is Nakusp and K in the northern part of the Arrow Lakes. The district provides services through agreements with other organizations, both within the public and private sector. For example, we have agreements with the school districts for the use of their buses and buildings for our recreation programs. We contract with Nelson, Kaslo, Nakusp, Creston, and Salmo for fire protection to our rural areas. We in turn contract our services to others. Examples include planning and building inspection service to some of the municipalities. Our rural area fire departments also provide protection to the Ministry of Forests. And of course we provide lifeguard attendance to the City of Nelson. Private contractors include water system construction and maintenance, as well as the operation of our 6 refuse disposal sites. Much of the success enjoyed by the regional district in providing those services is a direct result of the efforts of volunteers. We have more than 430 volunteers within our network system, and they include people who are prepared to serve on the Board of Variance, within the Advisory Planning Commissions, for the Recreation Commissions and the Aquatic Center. We have 8 Fire Protection Service Commissions, and there are more than 230 volunteer firemen. If I could deal directly now with the chart on the Central Kootenay budget. The regional district budget totals $6.3 million. And the main sources of revenue are derived from taxation, which totals $4.3 million and represents 2/3 of the budget. The next major source of income is other, which is $750,000, made up from building permit fees, contracts with the municipalities for providing planning, recreation users fees, and interest earned on investments. The last major source of income of $500,000 is generated from grants. Grants include job creation, funding from the BC Transit Authority, grants in lieu of taxes, as well as revenue from water assistance programs. And now if we could turn to the expenditures. On the pie chart, recreation and cultural services totals $2.1 million and represents 1/3 of our annual budget. It includes contributions to recreation commissions, funding of halls, payment of the Aquatic Center and the ice arenas in Castlegar, as well as funding the parks and the Blewett Ski Hill, as well as grants and aid to library and TV societies. The next major portion of expenditure is under environmental health services at $1.5 million. It includes funding of refuse disposal systems, as well as 6 water utility systems owned by the district. The last major expenditure is $1 million under protective services, and that includes funding of the fire departments as well as building inspection service. On the table in front of you, there are 123 exhibits forming the 1987 budget. Think of each exhibit as representing a special service. Each must be treated as a separate financial unit and could be representing a shoe store, a grocery store, a restaurant, or a service station. Surpluses of funds cannot be transferred amongst other services, but must remain within the exhibits. The table will illustrate the extent to which the regional district is involved. We're involved in economic development commissions throughout the regional district. Fire protection, we contract services from 6 of the municipalities, and we operate and maintain 11 fire protection services ourselves. We fund diking control, animal control, and provide for unsightly and untidy premise control. We are also involved in street lighting, house numbering, refuse disposal, cemetery operations, insect control, funding and advisory planning commission, and 9 recreation commissions throughout the district. The regional district owns the Reindell Recreation Centre, the Creston Valley Recreation Centre, the North Shore Hall, the South Slocan Community Hall, and the Nelson and District Aquatic Centre. They operate and maintain those facilities and do provide grants and aid to the Burton, Folkier halls as well as the Doukhobor Village. Ice arenas owned by the district include that in Castlegar, with financial assistance being paid to Kaslo and the cost for the operation of their facilities. Funding also includes regional parks. The district owns the Blewett Ski Hill and provides grant and aid to the libraries in Creston, Kaslo, Salmo, and Nakasp. They fund 3 television societies and provide funding for paratransit service here in Nelson and conventional transit in Castlegar. As mentioned earlier, the regional district owns and operates 6 water utilities, they being located in Reindell, Sanka Park, Lister, outside of Creston, Weimer, South Slocan, and Nakasp. Although the budget process is ongoing, it follows a cyclical pattern. Each commission of management of a service is required to submit to the treasurer preliminary estimates by October 31st of each year. A provisional budget, which includes all commission responses, is finalized and submitted to the board at its December meeting. The purpose of the provisional budget is to provide authorization to incur expenditures pending adoption of the annual budget in March.
Thank you very much, Reid. That was a very detailed and informative coverage of our regional district. No.
I'm John Brunstein.
Yes, Joe.
Mr. Neville, I would like to ask what criteria are used in deciding regional district boundaries?
I think I'm going to turn that over to Reid Henderson.
In 1965, when the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Dan Campbell, first conceived the idea of regional districts, he looked for 2 criteria. One being the economic base, the tax base of the particular region, and the second was the population to be served by the regional district.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
My name is Shelly Holmes, and I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Henderson. And in Section 91 and 92 of the BNA Act, it outlines what responsibilities the federal and provincial governments have. When the provincial government assigns certain responsibilities to the municipalities, they have the right to invoke them back if they feel that the municipalities can't handle them.
I'm not too sure I understand your question, Shelley.
Well, like certain, like stuff like licensing businesses. I mean, if the provincial government believes that the municipalities don't have the capabilities to cope with this, can they take it over?
Well, under the B&A Act, as Mayor Rodering pointed out, authorities were granted from the federal government to the provincial government, and the province in turn created the Municipal Act. The province has the right to rescind any authorities that it assigns to those municipalities. And in that particular instance, if they felt the municipalities were incapable of licensing businesses, they would rescind that section of the Municipal Act, and in essence, the municipality would not have the authority to levy the business license. If they attempted to do so, it would be ultra vires. It would be illegal.
I'm John Brunstein. I'd like to ask another question. I think this would be Mr. Henderson's field. You stated earlier on the budget stuff that monies were allotted to each specific unit individually, and if you had an excess in one, it could not be transferred to a deficit in the other. Is there a specific reason for that?
Yes, there is, and the reason for it is that each one of those services is separately taxed. To give you an example, the Nelson and District Aquatic Center, the district taxes the City of Nelson, electoral area F on the North Shore, and a portion of electoral area E, which is west of Nelson in the Blewett area. Those are the only taxpayers that fund the operation of that facility. However, those same areas participate in refuse disposal along with Salmo and electoral area G. It would be improper use of funds that are taxed for the purpose of funding the operation of the aquatic center and divert the funds through the surplus route to fund the refuse disposal, because not the same participants share in both functions.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henderson, my name is Monica Timofeyevich. I've heard a lot about the Municipal Act. What exactly is that, and how does it affect us?
The Municipal Act is a statute of the provincial government which applies specifically to municipalities, to regional districts, and to improvement districts. As it applies to that portion of the regional district applying to the rural areas of the regional district, it governs such things as Mr. MacNiell pointed out of planning and settlement developments, building regulations. In fact, there isn't an area of the province that isn't touched by the Municipal Act, either through a municipality or through the regional district. It's a very broad, encompassing piece of legislation.
Would you like to hold it up, Doug, and show what it looks like?
Yes, I would.
It's quite a weighty, hefty document.
We call it, actually, the Bible, we call it.
Mr. Henderson, my name is Jane Fleet, and I'd like to ask you a question about how the extent of the budget of the regional district compares to that of the municipal government.
Municipalities generally in Central Kootenays, the larger ones being Castlegar, Nelson, and Creston, have budgets in excess of Central Kootenays. However, the smaller village municipalities such as Salmo and Kaslo are running anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 less than the regional district's budget.
Mr. Reid, what are some restrictions placed on powers and functions of the regional district?
Are you wishing me to answer that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. The restrictions placed on the regional district for becoming involved in services? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. The restrictions are rather limited. It isn't limited as to the restrictions, but to give you an example, if the City of Nelson wishes to participate in a function of building a new ice arena, they could conceivably do so with the directors of E&F. Based on letters of consent, the regional district will then hold that referendum. It requires approval of the Ministry of Municipal Affairs to adopt the necessary referendum bylaw, and that is about the only limiting restriction. If it's within the powers of the regional district to undertake a service such as that, It would then go to the electorate, and if adopted, the regional district could in fact become the owner and operator of the new ice rink.
Thank you.
Okay.
Snowball in the microphone? I got one in the face.